Welcome back, deep divers. Ready for another plunge into the depths of forbidden knowledge.
Always. I think we've got a particularly intriguing one lined up for today. Episode 232, by the way.
That's right, episode 232. And this time, we're cracking open a book that sparked its share of fascination and maybe a little apprehension. Light on the Path, penned by Mabel Collins.
A classic of occult literature. And we're going to be exploring it alongside Through the Gates of Gold, another fascinating piece by Collins that's often included in the same volume. Two sides of the same coin, you might say.
Published back in 1888, this edition of Light on the Path is especially interesting because it includes notes from the author herself, added later, which give us even more to unpack. And Through the Gates of Gold actually came out a year earlier, in 1887.
Now, these aren't your casual bedtime reads. Light on the Path is written as a set of rules, very direct, very pointed, and it addresses the reader as, "O disciple," setting a tone that's, well, demanding, to say the least.
It definitely doesn't mess around. It's more of a blueprint for serious inner transformation, presented within a very specific occult framework. So today, we're going to delve into these rules, see what they're really asking of someone who's on this path of spiritual seeking.
What kind of inner work are they pointing towards?
Yeah.
What can they tell us about how these occult brotherhoods supposedly operate? And what about this idea of a deep, personal metamorphosis, almost like an internal alchemical process?
Right, exactly. A total transformation. So where do we even begin with a text as dense and layered as this?
Well, I think the book itself offers a pretty clear starting point. Those four foundational requirements that have to be met before any real progress can even be made. And they're not about your worldly accomplishments or intellectual prowess. They're about a fundamental shift in how you perceive and interact with reality itself.
Okay, so a pretty high bar right out of the gate. Let's hear them.
The first one states, "Before the eyes can see, they must be incapable of tears."
Not exactly a call for emotional detachment, is it? More like reaching a state where you're not constantly swayed by the ups and downs of your emotions, a sort of unshakable inner stability.
That's a really good way to put it. And Collins' later commentary actually makes this point very clear. It's not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot. It's about reaching a level of inner balance where your soul isn't constantly thrown off kilter by every passing feeling. It's like having a steady hand when you're looking through a telescope. If you're shaky, you won't get a clear view of the stars.
Makes sense. So a steady hand, a calm spirit, that's what allows for true knowledge to emerge, unclouded by the storms of our emotions.
Exactly. Then there's the second requirement. Before the ear can hear, it must have lost its sensitiveness, almost like tuning out the everyday noise to pick up a more subtle signal.
You mean like all the distractions and dramas that we normally get caught up in, the praise, the criticism, the endless chatter?
Precisely. The commentary suggests that it's about going beyond those things, not letting them affect you so deeply. Your inner self becomes a sanctuary of peace, undisturbed by the external clamor. It's in that stillness that you can start to hear a different kind of voice, the voice of the silence, as it's later called.
Okay, so we've got our steady hand, we've tuned out the noise. What's next?
Next is a powerful one. Before the voice can speak in the presence of the masters, it must have lost the power to wound. This one speaks to a profound transformation of our communication.
It's almost like saying that unless your words come from a place of pure intention, free from any desire to hurt or manipulate, you're not ready to engage with these higher beings, these masters.
That's a really good interpretation. The commentary connects this to the idea of selflessly serving humanity, of seeing yourself as part of a greater whole. A voice that can still inflict pain, whether intentionally or not, whether through harsh words or careless judgments, is still coming from a place of ego, from personal desires and grievances. That kind of voice, the book suggests, simply has no place in the presence of these masters.
So it's about achieving a level of compassion and harmlessness in all your interactions, a tall order, to be sure.
It is. And finally, the fourth requirement. Before the soul can stand in the presence of the masters, its feet must be washed in the blood of the heart. Intense imagery, right?
Definitely. It's almost visceral. What does it mean, though?
The author's note explains this as the ultimate sacrifice, a complete surrendering of your personal desires and attachments, even the ones that feel most precious to you. You reach a point where you're completely free from the ego's grip, centered in a higher divine life. It's like a purification ritual, a washing away of everything that's impure, everything that stands in the way of that fearless confidence that comes from complete surrender.
So these initial requirements paint a pretty stark picture of the kind of inner transformation this path demands. It's not for the faint of heart. Now let's dive into the first set of numbered rules, which all revolve around this idea of killing out certain aspects of yourself. The first three are kill out ambition, kill out desire of life, and kill out desire of comfort.
These sound pretty radical, right? Almost like going against everything we're naturally wired for. But that's the point. They're meant to challenge our deepest motivations.
So let's start with ambition. What does it really mean to kill out ambition in this context?
Well, it's not about becoming lazy or indifferent. It's about letting go of the need for external validation, for recognition, for worldly success. What's interesting is that, as Collins points out, ambition can be really sneaky. It can disguise itself even within a spiritual context. You might think you've conquered it, but then it pops up again, maybe as a desire for spiritual status or recognition within a group.
So you could even be ambitious about your lack of ambition.
Exactly. The key is to purify the underlying motivation. It's about doing the work for its own sake, not for what you hope to gain from it, whether that's worldly success or spiritual accolades.
Okay, and what about the desire for life? That seems even more fundamental, even more challenging to let go of.
Right. But again, it's not about wanting to die or becoming morbid. It's about releasing that deep-seated clinging to your personal existence, that fear of loss and impermanence that drives so much of our behavior. We're so afraid of letting go, of facing the unknown, that we end up clinging to things that are ultimately fleeting.
So it's about accepting the impermanence of life without letting that fear control you.
Precisely. And then we have kill out desire of comfort. This one speaks to a willingness to embrace challenges, to face discomfort head-on, rather than always seeking the easy path.
So no more lounging around in your comfort zone.
Not if you're serious about this path.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets interesting, because the fourth rule seems to contradict everything we've just discussed. So it says, work as those work who are ambitious. Respect life as those do who desire it. Be happy as those are who live for happiness.
So wait, we're supposed to act as if we still have these desires even though we're trying to kill them out?
This is where it gets subtle. It's about the action, not the attachment. You still engage with the world, you still put in the effort, you still appreciate the beauty of life, but you do it without being driven by the underlying desires or the fear of losing them.
So it's like a dance, a delicate balance between action and detachment.
You could say that. It's about finding a way to be in the world without being of the world, so to speak. To act without being controlled by your cravings.
That's a powerful concept. Light on the Path also dives into this idea that evil isn't some external force, but something that resides with each of us, even those dedicated to spiritual growth. That's a bit unsettling.
It is, but it's a crucial insight because it shifts the focus from battling external demons to confronting our own inner shadows. It's not some monster lurking in the darkness. It's a part of our own nature, something we carry within us. And Collins describes it so vividly as a plant that lives and increases throughout the ages.
So it's not something you just defeat once and for all. It's an ongoing struggle.
It seems so. It's something you have to continually tend to cultivate the inner strengths to keep it in check. Only those who are truly strong, the book suggests, can actively kill it out. Otherwise, you're left to endure its natural cycle, its growth, its fruition, its death. It's a long and arduous process.
And how do we even begin to tackle this giant weed, as the book calls it?
Well, one key is to cultivate a sense of timelessness, to live neither in the present nor the future, but in the eternal. It's about shifting your perspective away from the fleeting moments of time and connecting to a deeper, more enduring reality. It's in that timeless space that those desires and attachments lose their grip.
Moving on, the next set of rules focuses on kill out all sense of separateness, kill out desire for sensation, and kill out the hunger for growth. Let's unpack these, starting with the sense of separateness. What does it mean to kill out that feeling of being a separate, isolated individual?
This rule really gets at the heart of our perceived individuality, urging us to see that deep down we're all interconnected, part of a larger web of existence. It's not about condoning bad behavior or ignoring foolishness, but rather understanding that we're all bound together by shared karma. And Collins is very direct about this in her notes. The sin and shame of the world are your sin and shame, for you are a part of it. Your karma is inextricably interwoven with the great karma.
So even when we see suffering or injustice, it's not something entirely outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Right. By separating ourselves from it, by saying, that's not me, that's them, we're actually creating karmic ties that bind us to it. It's about moving beyond that us versus them mentality and recognizing our shared fate, our interconnectedness.
Okay, and how about the desire for sensation? That seems like a tough one, given that our senses are how we experience the world.
It does. But again, the focus is on the desire, the craving for those sensations, the constant need for external stimuli to validate our existence. It's not about becoming numb or suppressing your senses, but about achieving an inner balance where you're not constantly chasing after those fleeting experiences, the highs and lows that come with them. That detachment, according to the book, allows for a clearer, more objective observation of sensation, which is essential for true self-knowledge.
So it's about experiencing the world without being ruled by your senses.
Exactly. It's like watching a storm from a safe distance. You can appreciate its power and beauty without being swept away by it. And lastly, kill out the hunger for growth. Now, this seems counterintuitive, especially on a path that's all about growth and transformation.
Right. What's the logic behind that?
Well, Collins uses a beautiful analogy here. She compares it to a flower. A flower grows unconsciously, but eagerly anxious to open its soul to the air. It's not driven by a conscious desire to grow, to become something it's not. It's simply unfolding according to its own nature, drawn towards the light. And in the same way, a true disciple should be drawn towards the eternal, towards truth, without that grasping, ego-driven hunger for personal growth or spiritual achievements. It's about the journey, not the destination.
So it's about being fully present in the process, not fixated on the outcome.
Exactly. Now, the book then shifts gears a bit, offering a series of rules, specifically numbers 13 through 21, that outline a kind of developmental path, a progression of inner transformation. And it starts with this simple but profound statement: speech comes only with knowledge.
Meaning true speech, authentic communication, can only come from a place of deep lived experience, not just intellectual understanding.
Precisely. It's not enough to just parrot what you've read or heard. True knowledge has to be embodied, integrated into your very being. And how do we gain this knowledge? Well, that's where those inner senses come in. Rule 14 tells us that mastering our outer senses, conquering those desires for fleeting sensations, and developing our inner senses are all crucial steps on this path.
So it's a holistic process, both inner and outer.
Absolutely. And the next few rules, 15, 16, 17, offer a kind of guide for acquiring this knowledge. They tell us to inquire of the earth, the air, and the water, then of the holy ones of the earth, and finally of the inmost, the one. It's like a step-by-step process, each level building on the last.
Okay, so first we inquire of the natural world, then of those who are further along in the path, and finally of the ultimate source itself.
It's like a gradual unfolding, a process of deepening your understanding and refining your perception. Each stage requires a certain level of mastery over your desires, both the outer sensory ones and the deeper, more subtle desires of the soul. And it's through this process, this work of ages, that you can ultimately transcend your limitations and become more than man.
So knowledge isn't something you just acquire. It's something you earn through hard work and self-mastery.
That's a key point. And the knowledge gained in this way isn't just for you to keep. Rule 18 tells us that it's a trust vested in you by the Most High.
So it comes with a huge responsibility.
Absolutely. It's not something to be hoarded or misused for personal gain. You're entrusted with this knowledge, and any betrayal of that trust, even through neglect, can have serious consequences.
It's a sobering reminder that true spiritual progress isn't just about gaining knowledge, but about living it, embodying it. Now, the final rules in this section, 19, 20, and 21, are particularly intriguing. They tell us to hold fast to that which has neither substance nor existence, to listen only to the voice which is soundless, and to look only on that which is invisible. Pretty enigmatic, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. It's like stepping into a realm beyond our ordinary understanding, beyond the tangible world we're so used to. But Collins' later notes offer some helpful insights into their meaning.
Because what's the deal with the soundless voice and the invisible?
Well, the soundless voice isn't something you just hear right away. It takes practice, it takes discernment, it takes testing your experiences after you've committed to the path. It's about cultivating a deep inner listening, a patience of confidence, as Collins puts it. And the invisible, that's the dawning of true perception, the opening of the bloom, as she describes it. It's like a sudden shift in awareness, a moment of clarity and certainty that brings with it a deep sense of peace.
So it's about letting go of our attachment to the material world and attuning to a deeper level of reality, a reality that's beyond our ordinary senses.
Precisely. And speaking of Collins' notes, let's take a closer look at those. She added them to the 1888 edition, and they offer a really valuable layer of interpretation, making these often abstract rules a bit more grounded and relatable.
Yeah, let's dig into those notes. For example, her note on Rule 1, about ambition. What does she say about that?
She really hammers home how insidious ambition can be, how it can sneak back in even when you think you've conquered it. And she makes a fascinating comparison, suggesting that a pure artist, someone driven solely by the love of their art, might actually be on a more authentic spiritual path than an occultist who's just chasing after spiritual status.
It was all about the purity of your motivation, the absence of ego-driven desire, no matter what you're striving for.
Exactly. And her note on killing out separateness is really powerful too. She emphasizes that even those we might judge as bad or foolish are intrinsically connected to us. It's a call for radical empathy, for recognizing that we're all in this together. And she uses this vivid image of a soiled garment, saying that it might have been yours yesterday or could be yours tomorrow. We're all vulnerable, we're all interconnected, and trying to separate yourself from that just creates more suffering.
It's a reminder that judgment and self-righteousness are just more forms of separation, more ways of building walls between ourselves and others.
Right. And she also expands on Rule 17, inquire of the inmost, the one, cautioning against approaching the path with the desire for personal gain or some kind of grand spiritual vision. The way, she says, is to be sought for its own sake, not for what you hope to get out of it. It's the journey itself that matters, the pursuit of truth and understanding.
And what about those final cryptic rules about the insubstantial, the soundless, and the invisible? Does she shed any light on those?
She does. Her note on listening to the soundless voice is all about discernment. It's not about blindly ignoring your senses or rejecting reason. It's about carefully testing your experiences, trusting your intuition, and cultivating that patience of confidence that allows the inner voice to emerge. And her note on the invisible is beautiful. She describes it as the opening of the bloom, the awakening of true perception, a moment of profound stillness and wonder where everything seems to fall into place.
So it's about that shift in perspective, that letting go of the familiar to embrace the unknown. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Through the Gates of Gold. It's often published alongside Light on the Path, and it explores some similar themes but from a slightly different angle.
It's subtitled A Fragment of Thought, and it dives into some fundamental questions about the human condition. Why is there so much suffering in the world? What is the meaning of life? And it suggests that our ordinary way of thinking, our everyday logic, simply isn't equipped to grasp these deeper mysteries.
It starts by acknowledging this ever-present shadow of despair that seems to haunt us, the sense that something's not quite right, that we're searching for something we can't quite grasp.
Exactly, and it raises the question, why is this feeling of misery so pervasive? Why can't we seem to shake it no matter how much pleasure we accumulate or how much we achieve? And it observes that even the greatest minds throughout history have struggled with this, often ending up consumed by that same sense of existential despair.
So what's the solution? Is it to simply shut down our emotions, to become numb to pain?
Well, the book argues against that. It suggests that shutting off our capacity for feeling also cuts us off from joy, from pleasure. Sensation itself is fundamental to our desire to live, to experience the world.
So it's not about becoming emotionless, but about finding a way to transcend the cycle of pleasure and pain that seems to define so much of human experience.
Precisely. And that's where these elder brothers of the race come in. They're individuals who have somehow glimpsed these gates of gold, who have accessed a deeper level of understanding, and have found a way to tap into their own inner power.
And who are these elder brothers? Are they some kind of elite group?
Not exactly. The book offers examples like Plato and Shakespeare, suggesting that they're poets, philosophers, thinkers, teachers, those who have, in their own unique ways, crossed a certain threshold of understanding and are now trying to share that knowledge with the rest of us, often through veiled language and symbolism.
And what's the key to unlocking these gates of gold for ourselves?
The book suggests it lies within our own nature, in the fine part, the essence, the flavor of the man, as it puts it. It's about having the courage to look inward, to confront your true self without fear or shame. And like Light on the Path, it emphasizes the importance of killing the sense of separateness. As long as we cling to that illusion of being isolated individuals, we're bound to experience suffering and chaos.
So it's about self-knowledge, about recognizing our interconnectedness with all things.
Exactly. And then there's this fascinating idea called the mystery of threshold, which suggests that true mastery requires embodying both the voluptuary and the stoic. It's about finding that balance between fully experiencing life's pleasures without becoming attached to them and being able to detach from those pleasures without falling into suffering or resentment.
So it's like being able to dance between those two extremes, to be fully engaged in the world without being controlled by it.
Precisely. And there's also this intriguing idea presented in the section called the initial effort, which suggests that sometimes those moments of profound insight, those breakthroughs that liberate us from our limitations, can come unexpectedly. It's not always about following a set of rules or a prescribed path. Sometimes it's about those spontaneous bursts of awareness, those moments when we suddenly see things in a new light.
So it's about being open to those unexpected moments of grace, those flashes of insight that can come when we least expect them.
Exactly. And then there's the section on the meaning of pain, which offers a really interesting perspective on suffering. It's not just something to be avoided at all costs, but a potent force that can potentially serve a transformative purpose.
So pain can be a teacher.
That's what the book suggests. It can be a powerful medicine or even a weapon that can help us to break through our limitations and awaken to a deeper understanding. It's about learning to see pain not just as something negative, but as a potential catalyst for growth.
It's about changing our relationship to pain, seeing it as part of a larger process.
Exactly. And finally, The Secret of Strength emphasizes the power of inner conviction as the source of true strength. It's not about relying on external authorities or dogma, but about cultivating that deep inner knowing that comes from direct experience. And it also suggests that traditional religion, with its rigid distinctions between good and evil, can sometimes hinder our direct path to truth, that it can create unnecessary barriers between ourselves and the mysteries of existence.
So it's about finding that inner authority, that unshakable conviction that comes from within.
Exactly. Now, when we look at these two texts together, Light on the Path and Through the Gates of Gold, what are the common threads? What are they both trying to tell us about this inner war and this potential for divine initiation?
They both seem to be pointing to this profound inner struggle, this battle we each have to wage against our own ingrained desires, our ambitions, our sense of separation from others, our reliance on external validation.
Right. And the idea of divine initiation isn't presented as some kind of external ceremony or ritual. It's an inner transformation, a personal journey of self-discovery and realization achieved through discipline, awareness, and a fundamental shift in how we perceive reality.
And those paradoxical teachings in Light on the Path, like killing desire to truly live those, seem to resonate in Through the Gates of Gold as well.
Definitely. That theme of paradox runs through both texts. You have to let go of the tangible to grasp the intangible. You have to stand alone to connect with the universal. You have to embrace sensation while detaching from its pull. It's through navigating those apparent contradictions that we can reach a deeper understanding.
And those enigmatic masters mentioned in Light on the Path, they seem to be more of an inner presence than some kind of external authority.
It seems that way. Both texts suggest that you can't just go knocking on their door and expect them to welcome you in. You have to do the inner work. You have to purify your motives. You have to develop your inner senses. It's about earning that connection, not demanding it.
So these are some pretty profound and challenging teachings. They definitely offer a different perspective on personal growth and the pursuit of knowledge.
They do. And they put the responsibility squarely on the individual. You're in charge of your own transformation, your own initiation.
No shortcuts, no easy answers.
Not on this path.
So listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive into Light on the Path and Through the Gates of Gold, we leave you with this. If we take these teachings to heart, if we embrace the idea that we're all interconnected, that true strength comes from within, how might that change the way we approach the challenges in our own lives? How might it shape our understanding of what it means to live a truly meaningful life? It's a question worth pondering.
Absolutely. And perhaps exploring these texts for yourselves might offer some further insights. Until next time, keep diving.
Happy exploring, deep divers.